Perhaps it's a little bit bold of us to say that we're channeling Jesus, but if you know how consciousness works, we have been working with Jeshua, Jesus, for many years. We just didn't know how to receive the confirmation that that was true. We have been studying A Course in Miracles. I don't know what these bugs are about. It's been raining today, and it's all these tiny little sort of looks like ants with wings that are like completely just doesn't seem like they know anything what they're doing. It's just like spiraling around. It's interesting. It's sort of like maybe they're I have no idea, but they're interesting. Look, I don't know if we can get them, but they're sort of like little tiny, look like sticks that just flies around. Anyway, so once you yeah, there might be more, because they've tried to infiltrate the camper and now they're starting to wake up. Like, what the heck? It's interesting. Does it come with the environment, or is it something that comes from the ground when it gets wet? And like, it's interesting to go into those things too. Like, where did all of these things come from? It's fascinating. The truth is fascinating. And after reading A Course in Miracles for a long time, I think we calculated approximately on and off a decade of A Course in Miracles, which means that we've always known that that we would do something with that book. And the first channeler that introduced us to it, we assisted that being channel Jesus and other channelers to channel Jesus. We just didn't know that we were channeling Jesus, you know? A lot, like, we didn't have proper guidance, spiritual guidance. A lot of misdirected, manipulative, controlling, all of that stuff. And so we haven't had a very healthy upbringing. So we don't trust people that easy, because we've been through it all. And so unless beings show in action to us, we have no idea if we are just in some potential and they're not. That's the whole point, is communication. There needs to be communication between the bodies. That's what's satisfying. It's not satisfying to communicate from the head and just these fluffy things. It's when things become quiet, and that's also the thing. Those things, of course, don't just happen randomly. It happens by trusting. It happens with surrender. It happens with seeing the truth. We had a situation, we have been through a transition, personally, of where we are staying and where we're sleeping. Still in the camper, but the position of where we place it. And so we've gone a bit back and forward. And a lot of things that we can see now, looking back, and we can see our fault. Yesterday we saw the other being's fault. Judging, projecting. Oh no, it's, wow, like it's out of the blue, blah, blah, blah. But we sat with it. It's typical what people will say, and then they get stuck there in the blame. But we sat with it, and we keep asking Jesus. And then eventually it dropped, because it is like an onion. It doesn't get revealed all at once. It's not the same as what you have been portrayed in the movies. It depends. I mean, your system can be different, yes. But this is universal, this way of functioning with the human system. How to sort of like plug it in so that you get nourishment. And it's these things. We saw how we messed up. And we made assumptions. And we did the very thing that we were accusing this being of. You see? And so we get it. We get it. Because if we make that mistake energetically, then we open up for whatever energies to attack us even. You see? Energetically. A little energy vomit. And that's what this does when we are in harmony with ourself. That means in integrity. What we did, just to be very clear, we spoke something and then we went against it. Not in the totality of it, but with the word, with the specificity of what we said. We gave one impression and then we did another. And that's mischievous behavior, right? And that's important for us to notice. We just didn't think about it. It was the unconscious, as you say. But now it's conscious because Jesus gave us the answer. We have found a way to work with him in energy. It's very different from the words that people are channeling, because we are verifying with the body. Sometimes we do words as well. It depends. It goes in and out. We don't have so much control, to be perfectly honest. And it's very much these situations when they speak to people, they just come through and say stuff sometimes. And it's important for us to develop the voice to speak regardless and not be afraid to speak. And that's what we're working on. We have been practicing in our body this frequency, but now we have to maintain it with actually, because now we have something to protect. You see? Now it matters. And so now it makes sense to start to develop that. And now we're in the perfect place for that too, which is with a community. And we really appreciate the whole segue into this and how smooth of a transition it has been, given the fact that if they would say that you're gonna not live in a community, but you're gonna work with a community again, we would probably say no, almost. not really, but the things that we have experienced, if we knew that we would need to experience them, we would probably say no, because that was the resistance. And so this is the thing also. Sometimes there is no words, but we just need to create a container so that they can do the work. But we need to correct our perspective for them to be able to do their work. We need to be able to practice holistic, which means it's about that person and it's about this person. Right? We can say whatever we want there, but this is what needs to change. And so we have learned to be a bit more, because this is not something that we want. This is a little bit us just being a little bit in the fool, like, okay, now that conversation is over. Okay, what do we want to do now? Well, it makes sense when we first hear to blah, 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 It's that type of thing. And then we didn't consider him at all in what we said. And so we get that that is important. That was our fault, right? We're not perfect. We make mistakes too. But then it's just about, okay, coming clean and being friends again. This is the thing too, that if you're really clear with the bodies and if you speak to the situation so that it relieves it in that person and yourself, that is actually that energy cleared. Now, how the other person will interpret it is good to have sort of a common understanding of these things. Because it's easy if people are unconscious to just say, like if you apologize, let's say, and then they might see you as weak, or, you know, like there are a lot of these like weird projections. But that also needs to be spoken. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be spoken to correct energy with people. The thing is though, you don't have to do it with everyone. You just have to do it with the ones that you find it hardest, actually. Because those are the ones that's sort of like for you. It's either the hardest or the one that you get drawn to. And that's the thing. That is the whole purpose for us to use our voice. And that goes far beyond just singing. That goes to speaking in integrity. Being authentic to who you truly are. And we weren't. That was some other energy we allowed. But that's our responsibility. We allowed that energy. And that's what we have control over. And that takes a little bit more umph, a little bit more alertness, because then you're alert to energies. And that may seem a little bit weird to some. Oh, and you can feel energies. Everyone can feel energies. But not everyone needs to be so frightened or, you know, like, but everyone feels energy. How do you interpret it? What do you make it mean? It's not like you can just create whatever story. It needs to make sense for the body. Otherwise, you're completely off course. And you will have to take this human experience again. Because you can't be in your head about this. It is a body thing. And once you get how the bodies operate with one another, it's about loyalty. It's about trust. You know? And when we go against our word, that's us going against us. That's like disloyalty. So we can't have that. That's important. So it took us today, we had how many Heya sessions? 3, 4, 5, 6, like maybe 6 rounds of peeling off the onion until we saw, this was our doing. You see? So important to do that. It took us 6 Heya sessions to go through that. Channeling, breathing, toning, breath holds, allowing the team to work through it, allowing with Jesus, with the Ascended Masters. They're very real. It's just that your consciousness don't believe in them. Maybe your consciousness does. At least in concept, but it's getting the body to believe. It's like, because it can't see it, so it needs to feel it. But for that, there's a lot of calibration needed. And being in integrity with your word. So we are very grateful, even though it took us this time, to see our fault in this. Because that's the only thing that we can change. We can change how we respond and how we behave and how we show up in the world. And so, yeah, we're still walking our path. We're not an enlightened master. We have enlightened masters guiding us. That's very different than us believing that we are enlightened. We're not enlightened. We're learning. We are a work in progress. This Kenneth the body is a work in progress. We're getting there, you know? But we're still working on injecting the energies that we need with people. And here it seems like we need to do that a little bit more. If we want to present ourselves to the world. That's really what we're doing. It's not enough with just YouTube for us. We have to we have to make it physical, make it real, you know? Because we've done that in our own bubble. We know what we're doing. We have clarified our spirits and worked with them. We know that this is real. It's just that we haven't had that practice outward. That's been more from the mind and distortions. We're not practicing authenticity and clarity through the body. And we're pretty sure that we come across maybe a little bit naive sometimes and a little weird. We certainly feel weird and feel like we're the odd one out. You know, we don't feel very many people get us right now. And we're looking forward to when we can feel that, when we can feel the resonance of that. And until then, we are just going to practice being better humans and doing what they're guiding us to do. Because anyone on the outside, they have not been good teachers for us. If we listen to anyone on the outside, it does not matter. It does not matter how enlightened they are. It is this alignment within that is the only thing that will get you there. So we are so sure about this that we have created a product called Hey Alive that we have free every week. And if you want to sign up and join us, you can go to the link below or in the bio somewhere, and you find a link, and the first one is our WhatsApp group. Join that, and then you will be receiving a link to actually experience what we're talking about, to have your experience, clearing off some of the fog that might be in the way so that you can get in touch with your intuition, with clarity, with knowing more clearly how to move forward. Because once you have clarified and cleared your space, it's much easier to see clearer. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Archangel Michael. Thank you, Archangel Metatron. Thank you, Gaia. We'll talk to you again in the next one. Ciao.